once upon a time, there was a boy who was in elementary school, and he was a rascal. He was always getting into trouble. He was fighting with kids, he was talking back to teachers, and almost every day he'd get called into the principal's office. And sure enough, the principal would have to call the parents and say, yeah, here he goes again, what are we going to do with him? This went on and on. Well, the family never went to church. Actually, they didn't believe much at all. So the kid never heard about God, never heard about Jesus, nothing. So the parents said, I know what we're going to do. Let's send him to a Catholic school. So they did that. They transferred him. And sure enough, the first couple of weeks, parents never got a call from the principal. He'd come home from school, he actually would work on his homework right away. They asked him how school, he said, great, fine. So after a couple weeks of that, they finally said, okay, what's up? What happened here? And he said to them, well, you know that first day when I started at the Catholic school, and I was going to do my usual stuff, because that's what I like to do. Well, one of my friends who I knew from up the block, who was also at the school, he pointed up to that thing on the wall. He said, you know that guy hanging on that plus sign? That's what they do to the naughty kids. Well, that's not true. Okay, I went to a Catholic school, as many of you did. They're great schools. But in talking about the cross, we recognize that for many of us, we kind of take it for granted. I mean, we see a cross a lot. It'll be decoration or jewelry, and we don't really get the importance of the cross. When Jesus in the gospel, you just heard, says, take up the cross, many times we think, oh, yeah, that's just enduring my pain of life. Where people will say, oh, my poor back, oh, that's just my cross to bear. Or that lousy neighbor I have, oh, that's just my cross to lift up. That's not what Jesus talks about when lifting up the cross. Because if you think about it, Jesus did not have to take up his cross. He chose to do it. He chose to do the right thing. Even if it would, get him in trouble, people would like him, get him crucified. Same thing for us. It's inviting us to do the right thing. Even if nobody else is doing it, to say the right thing. Even if we feel like we're getting crucified for it. But the cross is significant because it actually has two different parts. I want to show you what I mean. I have a couple of volunteers up here. Volunteers, you want to step forward? To get in place. So they're going to show us what it means. So the first piece of the cross is the long piece. It's the up and down piece. We call it the vertical piece. And this is the part of the cross where we are connected to God. Where we recognize to say, it's our relationship with God. Now, obviously, God is not just up in the sky. God is everywhere. We get that. But many times when we think of God symbolically, we think of God up. So go with me there. So the idea is to say, how can we improve our relationship with God? The best way to do it is our prayer life. It's certainly also coming to the sacraments, coming to church. But it starts with how you connect with God. Now, if you've got a good connection with God right now, I say, great, go for it. Keep it going. But for a lot of people, they say, I just don't feel close to God anymore. Things aren't working. So I say, well, change it up. There are a lot of different ways to pray. You can do memorized prayers, the Hail Mary. You can do the Lord's Prayer. You can read from your Bible. And as you've heard me say this again and again, the best place for your Bible is where you're going to read it. Like next to your bed, in your prayer corner, or in the bathroom next to the toilet. Because then you might read it. But different kind of ways of praying to God would be, say, maybe just being quiet. Maybe it's listening to Christian music. My favorite is journaling. I kind of have this ongoing letter to God. Or perhaps it's enjoying nature and thinking about God. But for a lot of people, what they say is simply talking to God, which I think is a great way. Use your own words. Or your own thoughts, like before you go to sleep, while you're driving, before Mass, just at times of adoration we have in the church. Just you and God connecting. And if you get into the rut of you always just complaining to God and asking for things, well, try this. Try thanking God. Just talking to God like you would talk to a friend. So that's the vertical part of the cross. The next part is the horizontal part. You guys want to show them? This is how we reach out to others. Where it's not just us, but we got to make a difference with people around us. You just heard James talk about to say, what good is your faith if you don't do something with it? What good is it to profess that you love Jesus if you don't put it into action? Now, for a lot of you, you get it. You've stepped up. You helped different things. In just a couple weeks, we're going to have our sign-up sheet for all our ministries here at Christ Our Light. Yeah, okay, I think you can put him down now. There. Let's give our cross a hand. That's right. Both these. Thank you, guys. Great job. What it also talks about is the place where the two pieces meet together is the place where Jesus died on the cross. Right in that center there. What that means is that God specifically chose to be with us even in our own suffering. Even when we feel like we're being crucified. Even when we feel like things aren't going well. It's God saying, I am with you. I'm not going to leave you that. I know exactly what that means. Now, we know as a larger church, there are a lot of things going on in the world. There are hurricanes going on right now. There is that whole abuse of power of Catholic leaders within our Catholic Church. And many people just get so fed up with it and they say, what good is it? I'm just going to not do anything. Or I'm going to stop coming to church. The beauty of the cross is the fact that place of suffering is also the place where action can happen. I want to show you another crucifix. This is a crucifixion of, again, where the 2 points meet together in the middle of Jesus resurrected. When we have things happen, bad things like a hurricane, people lose their lives, they lose their home. We also have people who step up and say, we're going to help out. We're going to give. We're going to make lives better for people. When we talk about the abuse that happened in the church, we have people who say, we're not going to let actions of a couple people affect our faith. We're going to stay with it and hang in there. Because our faith is more than just what happens bad, but it's believing in the good. There is a theologian, a spiritual writer named Father Richard Rohr, Franciscan. He says, when you look around the world, the best criticism of the bad is the practice of good. For any of us, if there are people we don't get along with, people who keep gossiping about us or put something on social media, or people we don't get along with at school or work, the best thing you can do for them is to follow Jesus and be good to them. It'll drive them crazy also. For you not to try to get back at them, not to try to be even with them, but to follow Jesus where he says, I want you to make a difference. That's what it means to be a Christian. That we accept the place where our faith comes together, believing in God and helping each other. It comes together where we can go and do, like St. James talked about in that second reading, to go make a difference. Many of you get it. And I'm so proud of our parish because we have been known for a long time and for people all over the area as a welcoming community. That we're saying we invite all of you to come and be with us, worship with us. And indeed, we find our place where those two come together at the table when we celebrate the Eucharist. After communion, our choir is going to be singing a song. It's called A Place at the Table. And it really represents well how God deals with us and how God delights in us. The refrains say, God will delight when we are creators of justice. When we are creators of joy. God will delight in us when we are creators of compassion. When we are creators of peace. Not somebody else, not waiting for God only, but for us to be involved. The song says, for the young, for the old, a place at the table. A voice to be heard, a part in the song. The hand of a child, the hands of the wrinkled. For the young and the old, the right to belong. God delights when we create joy, when we create justice. God delights when we create compassion and peace. So with that, of course, we celebrate our coming together on this festival day. We celebrate all of you, friends, family, some new friends, joining with us at the table as we recognize Christ inviting us to be here and to make a difference. At this time, I invite you all to please stand.